Welcome to Almost Pro, where we share the stories behind the game. Today, we're joined by Ashley Ljesevic. Ashley's journey through sport is one of evolution. From her early years, chasing a Division 1 basketball pathway, to exploring new ways of staying connected to sport, to now building a life that spans movement, creativity, and flexibility. Her story is about how your path can grow with you. Today, we're chatting with Ashley about identity, perspective, and what it looks to keep showing up, even as your definition of success expands. Hi, Ashley. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Laura. Francis, it's great to be with you both. And I'm really thankful to be here and appreciate the space that you're creating and feel very honored to be part of it. So thank you.
We are so happy to have you with us, Ashley. We are so excited to share your story with our audience, knowing full well that you share other people's stories. Can you tell us about your podcasting project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started a podcast a little over, or maybe it's my math. You know, my math isn't strong. In 2021, I started a podcast called Endurance Diaries. And really, it's a space to, have people on from all different backgrounds, walks of life, from sports to business to everyday change makers, really on their stories of overcoming perseverance and what I like to call the endurance to keep going. And so really it's just having these open conversations, inviting people on, and it's been a very fruitful space. And I can't wait for the both of you to join me there too. So putting it out there here.
Definitely.
And now we've recorded that, so you can actually play it back to us
Yeah.
on a bullet point.
Exactly. That's exactly why, right? It's accountability. So
Love
it's
it.
happening.
Hey, Ashley, you told us some stories about your early sporting journey in a conversation we had together. Talk to us about basketball and the role basketball's played in your life.
Yeah, so I started playing basketball from an early age. Growing up in Pittsburgh, I was always playing on, travel teams and for school as well too. And it really became the sport that I wanted to like really focus on and pursue because I was playing other sports as well too growing up. And as I got into high school and everything, the AAU circuit and the travel became more competitive, and it was really starting to, think about whether or not you would want to do this at the next level as well. And so that was really always kind of where my mind was thinking about, as it related to basketball. I enjoyed it and I had fun competing. I had fun traveling with the teams that I was part of and then playing in school as well. So it was just that sport that I loved. It was also an outlet as well, I think. And as you know, the power of sport, right? And there's so much more that it gives to us. And I feel very grateful for that. But when I was traveling and just playing on more of like an elite circuit to get recruited to play at colleges, there was a bit of pressure there because you're playing alongside the best, and you have a goal, and it's high stakes every time at these tournaments, and all eyes are on you and your team, and you're competing for spots. And so it was, I think, the most enjoyable parts of that honestly were just the times with my teammates, and a lot of that was off the court because then it was more pressure on the court. And really the kind of long story short out of all of that is that I had a dream of playing Division 1. I worked so hard all through high school. I sacrificed so much, a lot from a social perspective too, because you're training almost every day and then on weekends as well, and you're missing dances, you're missing other times out with friends and things that you do when you're teenagers, all because of the goal. And I fell short of the goal. I did not get the offers that I wanted to get to play at that high level and play Division 1. And during that time, my teammates that I was so close with, they were really my best friends. They were receiving the offers and they were going and playing at these high, Division 1 schools, and later, would go on and play overseas, and some are in the WNBA still today. And so it really became this like, wow, you're watching your friends live out the dream that you thought was, that you would also be doing. And from there, I ended up, I was kind of posed with this question because I still had an opportunity to play at the collegiate level, but at a smaller level. So the question then became, do you want to keep playing for the love of the game? Or, is this it? And so I ended up, continuing on, and I did play at a Division 3 school for 2 years, and then that was it for basketball, and there's a whole journey after that. So I like to say, you know, a lot of my self-discovery process really came after I stopped playing basketball, but it was so much of how I saw myself, how I related to others, and really just, everything that I was doing was kind of through that lens of basketball, the decisions that I was making, um and then it's just no longer then at at one point you're doing something for so long, and then you stop doing it. So it's a interesting experience, I think, to have. As yeah, at that point when I stopped playing, I was probably just before 20 or 20 years old, maybe. Again, the
Yeah.
numbers, not my strength, um but yeah, I mean, when you're a young person, as a teenager, it's like you just know one thing, right? And that's just the only thing that's on your mind. And so
Right.
I'll
Such big decisions to be making at such a young age, and we see that all the time with athletes going through this. To help, I guess, create a little bit of a picture for people outside of the US that might be listening in as well, that recruitment window, is that a big window or is that a pretty small window?
It's a pretty small window. I mean, I think, your sophomore and junior year of high school are the most pivotal. Junior year by junior year, a lot of players know they're making these kind of, verbal commitments, early commitments. When you're a senior, then the last year of high school, you pretty much know if you're going to play at that higher level, you pretty much know where it is that you're going um, at that point. So it's not a big window of time. And unfortunately, what happens and what can happen is that, players can get injured during those crucial summers of recruiting.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, also the ways that the schools are recruiting, it's oftentimes dependent on their needs, right? In the sense of a player. So you may say that, hey, this person's actually better. You may have a shooting guard here that you could objectively say is a better player than, this forward, but the school actually is in a need of a forward. They're not in needs of more shooting guards. And so that's sometimes what happens. So a lot of it is timing and what the team needs and what their roster looks like. So I think that's one thing that is also maybe sometimes not so understood in the sense of how that works. And now, of course, with NIL, it totally changes the landscapes. Uh, now it's like there's the money aspect involved in the sense of where people are going to schools. But at least at that time, a lot of it is a timing thing, and yeah, it's a short window as well. So you could be working so hard and then maybe you get injured. The ACL tears are very uh I don't want to say popular. That's not the right word.
Common.
Popular, but common, exactly. Nobody wants an ACL tear. But they're very common, and that sets you out for 9 months, 10 months, and that can totally change the trajectory of your career within basketball.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
talked about your friends getting offers, but you also talked about the things you sacrificed or missed out on so that you could be playing basketball or prioritizing basketball. The irony is when you combine those two things, your friends are your social layer, your teammates, that's where your friendships are, that's where everything socially is, that's your community. So as those people start to drop away from you, right as you're already contemplating your own changes, how is teenage Ashley digesting all of this all at once? My friends are leaving. I've prioritized them over any other friends because I see them the most. We're together the most. And suddenly they're getting offers that I'm not getting. I want to be happy for them, I imagine, at the same time as trying to work out what this means for me. Can you tell us a bit about that period?
Yeah, Francis, I think it's such a great question because it's true. It's like you're spending so much time with those, with your teammates, and you are so happy for them. And then it's also not your reality. So then they move cities, they go to schools that are far away. and you realize you are where you are. And then it's kind of twofold. It's like, okay, well, I didn't realize that dream. So now you're going on and I get to cheer, for you from afar, but then that friendship is at a distance. And now I have to sit with, okay, who am I now? And what do my years look like, And um it's hard because you spend so much time with those people, and then you look around and you think, "Okay, everything that I was doing was really for the sake of this dream." And I think, "Wow, what else was I doing so much outside of basketball?" Fast forward 10 years later, eh, I think, well, it's been more than 10 years, but I'm saying from that time, like, you know, you think about I'm such a big advocate for I think younger athletes, especially now, where it's like really get involved in in other things outside of your sport because you learn more about yourself then. And you realize you don't put so much of your identity in just that sport because it does come to an end at some point. And then you sit with this question of who am I without the sport? And that's the journey that then I later went on after I stopped playing basketball.
Tell us about it. Tell us about what came next.
Yeah, so it was actually midway through my sophomore year. It was around I think it was around the December time, so it was, like, middle of the season. I came to the coach, and I basically, at that point, made the decision that I was gonna stop playing, so I didn't even play through the rest of that season. It was midway through the season when I stopped because what had happened in me was I just was losing this joy for the game in a way that when I start to feel in myself, especially with basketball or any sport, right? There's so much that you pour into and like you want to do it, I think genuinely because you love the game and I always have. And then when I would start to notice that in myself, like something is just not right and I have to pay attention to that internal nudge. And sometimes it means it costs you that, right? Like, to me, it became worth it to follow that nudge inside, even not knowing then what's on the other side of that. What's on the other side of hanging up my basketball sneakers is all I've known. And I then made the decision to transfer schools as well. So all of this was happening where it was like I stopped playing basketball. Then I was contemplating, okay, what, do I finish school here at this, at this college, or do I transfer? And then what am I going to do? And then also when it comes to studies as well, it was like I think we may have chatted about this offline, but it's like basketball was the only thing that I knew. So even going into school, it's like I don't know what I want to study. I just want to play
Yeah.
basketball. So that all of these questions I started, confronting, and I decided to transfer schools to University of Pittsburgh. And during that time, I took some time to I want to say I took some time to reflect, but actually I took some time to uh, find a way to keep competing, right? And I ended up, started getting into long distance running through all of that because I found that it was, a struggle for me to just go from every day you are training, every day you are preparing, physically for competition, for games. You're in the weight room, you have these plans, and that's your every day. So you're just like on this go mode and repeat. And then what? You're just done.
Yeah.
And and so I was like, well, I need to do something. And I think it hurt me mentally in a sense because I felt at this point like I don't really know what am I going to get into, what am I going to study? What do I want to do like actually in life? Like again, but these are all questions you're asking yourself when you're still so young. And so I think giving yourself a bit of grace in that too is so important because you think you have to have it all figured out at this time and you put so much pressure on yourself. Um, and there's so much that just unfolds in that. And I learned so much then through running and just having that space is like mental clarity too. So I started to get into running while I was at the school and while I was at University of Pittsburgh. And then it was really developing this other relationship with sport, and how can I get involved still with basketball? How could I get involved with athletics, but maybe from a different position? And so from there, and we've talked about this, that I got into I started coaching at the high school that I went to. So I was coaching then on the women's basketball team and then working internships with Pitt Athletics and that. So I was just like jumping all into sport again, but
Yeah.
from a totally different totally different side.
And now, time for a short break. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to join the Almost Pro community and stay up to date with the latest episodes and news. To find out more or to apply to be a guest, visit almostpropodcast.com today. Definitely one way to do it, but it can be a good way to do it, particularly when you do take on coaching roles to be able to say, okay, I can give back to this sport, back to this environment. And then something as cathartic as running allows you to really, like you said, sit in sport in a different way, and you control that environment. You're not on the team, it's individual, it's you on the track, and sort of with your thoughts going, okay, well, where is this leading me to, and where am I going? But you're going to have to take us to where running took you, because you did a marathon, didn't you? Or it started doing some marathons with running. So you really did run away with the running.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I was, it's funny because I participate in all these marathon events, but my event within the marathon event is the half marathon distance. So it's half, but nonetheless, it still counts. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I got into long distance running, as you mentioned, Laura, there, and every year since then, while I was still in college, I was doing a half marathon, and then I would do it again. And it was always just this space for me where I could show up for myself. I could still challenge myself. I could be inspired by others, which that was a huge part of it. I mean, you go to these events and you are just around thousands of people. We're all starting at the same start line. We all finish the same finish line. And in between all of that, you have everybody's why, and each one is different. And so you realize like that we're all out there and we're all going to push ourselves to keep going, but that internal driver is going to be different within each and every one of us, and yet we're in it together at the same time. And I think there's just such a metaphor with life, and that's why I love endurance sports. That's why endurance is one of my favorite words, because there's so much that we can learn within a marathon, right? That we can
Absolutely.
translate into life, because we are going to hit a wall. You're going to feel like you want to stop. Maybe you're in pain. And yeah, there's that thing that's within you that can keep you going, and it's finding that, and you can look along, around you as well, and people are there and support you, and they will push you through, and they will help you. And I love that. It's just like life to me, right? And so why I will always love running. I have such a such a I don't even want to say a love-hate relationship with it, because it's just like love, I think, because there's so much learning. Even whenever, it hurts a little bit through the training. So there's a story there as well that I think is really just such a key part to in my story, and just going through this journey of self-discovery. And because you mentioned marathon, Laura, and then I kind of said, well, half marathon, right? And not give
Uh,
myself much credit in
yeah.
that way. But I would love to share this. In 2020, as you know, COVID happened. And prior to everything canceling and all of that, I was actually training for my first full marathon. And that was going to be in Pittsburgh, which, of course, is my hometown and the special connection that I have there. And I had got up to 17, 18 miles in my training all at the beginning of 2020. Now, nothing really shut down until March. And so the marathon was in May, just 2 months after. So at that point, I'm pretty trained, And then everything starts getting canceled. And the Pittsburgh Marathon always follows the Boston Marathon because Boston's like a few weeks prior, and then Pittsburgh. Then Boston got canceled. And it was just this inevitability that it was coming. And I remembered, like, up to that point, I was out for, like, almost 3 hours on a training run, and it was, like, 17, 18 miles, and for me, that was the longest that I had ever run up to that point, like, continually. So, I'm like, yeah, I feel good, but also, like, I just went out here and ran for, and, then it got canceled, and I remember having this moment, right, because I was training, and again, I was sacrificing other aspects of my everyday life here for training, as you
Yeah.
do. Weekends, you're up, you're out, you're running, and when it got canceled, I remember just, like, having this moment with myself where I was like, what did I just do all that for?" Like, I just put my body through all of this just to have the race be canceled, and now I'm not even going to be able to cross the finish line, right? And so, it really when I reflect on my journey as well, even in playing basketball, I think about how much this moment in 2020 actually was so impactful in that, because it really allowed me to come back to myself and really ask that question of, like, what are you really doing this for? And then reflecting back, right? And then can you see the parts in your journey in the process that actually it was building, that you're learning so much about who it is that you really are along the way, and maybe it actually didn't have anything to do with what you could achieve. And so that was a big breakthrough for me, because then I could go back and I could look at each and every training run and see how I actually kept pushing myself to see that I could keep going whenever I wanted to stop, to see
Yeah.
the sacrifice in it, to see those other, to see the support that I had along the way. Similarly, my friends, they didn't love me less because I played Division 3 basketball. They were still there. They still, had my back. And so it just really was this season of reflection for me at that time in 2020 that really opened me up to so many possibilities of, like, you're so much more than what you can do and what you can achieve. And so it's like that was just so, like,
That's a
it
different
just
level you get to, isn't it? Once you've reached that point, that's such a pivotal moment of healing to be
mm,
able to get there and say, you know what? I am great. Here's what I've achieved. And have that self-belief, uploaded almost to your system and go, look at what I can achieve when I just keep trying, and recognizing the human outside of the sport, as our collective friend Emily reminds us.
yes.
Who are we outside of sport?
Yes.
And those relationships, as you mentioned, still being strong. It's an incredible journey to go through, and incredible that you got there. I'm gonna have to start running. I can't run down the road, but I'm gonna have to start running. There's just so much that can be learned from running.
Yeah. There's a moment actually where you go, "Oh, just a half," and everything inside me goes,
Yeah.
"Just?" Oh my
That's what I
god.
was
There's
If
no
it's got
chat.
marathon if it's got
Yeah.
marathon in the name, it's impressive. It's a
Yeah.
marathon.
Not running, that
Well,
real thing.
Francis, I really appreciate you saying that, actually, and pointing that out, because it's all relative, right? I mean, and this is something that even for people who, have never never went out for a run anyways, right? And then they go out and they do like 1 mile, or they
Yeah,
do this. It's like, that's amazing.
yeah,
And it's amazing, to move your body, to do this, and it's like, that's why comparison doesn't work, and we can get so trapped in that, because it's like my half marathon, right, is nothing to an ultra marathoner's, well, nothing to a marathoner, nothing, but is like the pinnacle to somebody, who's never, laced up a pair of running shoes. But it's like we're all on our unique journeys, right? And so it's, to see yourself in that, to see what you're capable of doing, to see what your body's capable of doing, is just amazing. So I appreciate you saying that, calling that out, because I find myself doing that. We do that to ourselves. We say, oh yeah, just this, right? Or just that. It's like,
yeah,
as if, what does that mean, right? Like, it's amazing. And I think we put that just label on in different aspects of our life. I think it's so important to catch ourselves whenever we say that, right?
Actually, I love the experience of how this path for you is not a straight line. And that's a takeaway for all of us. The path is not a straight line. You didn't just finish basketball and go, okay, well that sucked, but I'm going to take up running now and that won't suck. You took up running and you thought, this is good for my mental health, this is good for my physical health. And what would be good for me, because I've trained like this my whole life, is to have a challenge to link with my running. So my challenge will be that I'm going to participate in this event. That looks like something I want to be a part of. It's entirely okay that when the goalpost, which was that challenge to participate in that marathon, is removed from you, that you for a little minute go, that doesn't feel fair for me right now. It's not comparing it to your basketball journey of saying, I've worked my entire youth to get to this point and that's been taken away from me. It's something very different to say, no, I did this for a different reason. This time it's just me and I'm doing this to show myself what I'm capable of, even when I feel like something else fell up, like, I fell short of something that I wanted to be capable of. And I love that, honor yourself in that moment. But also, I love that you took the pause and went, wait, was it only to get the medal that I was making this happen? Can I still run now that the medal's been removed? And Laura and I talk to so many athletes about the things you can't take out of an athlete. And that is simply that what made you a good athlete is that you were competitive. What you're competing with in this point in time, though, is yourself. Still okay. Still okay. It is all part of your growth and your journey. But you sit in front of us right now with that journey behind you, able to say, statements like, I just honor that I can move my body. You find me a college level basketball player who goes, no, that's what I'm honoring today. Nope. They're honoring how many shots, how much game time, who's watching, what the next step is. Ashley playing basketball is different to Ashley today. Your growth is off the charts. And I think that's the reflection point that I love in our story time with you is like your growth is in your language. Your growth isn't just in the outward expressions of the way that you're running. It's in the language of saying, what a privilege to move my body, even though they canceled the event. What a privilege to move my body. And that to me is part, and I know you tell these stories with others on the endurance diaries, but that is endurance, right? That honoring our bodies is enduring. It is so enduring. And there will be seasons where we do it a different way. Yours for you is to keep on running. And I think that's really special.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you just captured all of that so well. And it is because adversity still hits, right? Like challenges still come. I had a shoulder surgery a couple years ago as well. And then that's another reset in the gym, right? And then you see yourself, and I'm like, wow, progress today is a little bit more range of motion. Progress today is just stability. Whereas that would have been, it's just totally different, years prior. And so it's like, it's seeing yourself, it's honoring yourself. And then I think it also increases our awareness and compassion for others as well, because you see, like, we're all on our unique journeys, right? And then you're like, there's a story behind each and every one of us. There's a why behind each and every one of us. And wow, what a privilege it is to share space with others in a gym or to share a course, a marathon course. And we can get curious about one another and their why, and we can be inspired by that. So,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it so much. So, our Ashley that runs is our Ashley today. What else does sport look like in your life now?
Yeah, I love to be active and I love to try new sports. I'm currently playing paddle, which
Nice.
is very popular in Miami. I mean, it started, in Mexico and very popular in, Central South America and Europe as well. And it's coming more and more into the US. And so really enjoying that and competing. I always like to compete and I always play to win. I feel like it's innate.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it
I
is so
really
shunned.
enjoy it.
It is so shunned to say that you're competitive. It does have a label. I think it's a really special quality. The world needs people like that. We need you to be competitive in different spaces. Embrace it.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And I think one thing I really learned a lot, especially just like when I reflect on my journey too, and how I, show up today and what I'm involved in or like playing in sport too, it's like you don't have to, sacrifice your effort. So you can still be competitive and all of that. You don't have to sacrifice that effort to be able to, like surrender the outcome in a way. Like, so I say that in a sense where it's like, if I lose or something happens, it's like that's not the end of the world. You can still go on. You still like. So I say that in a sense where it's like you can still compete. You can still put forth, all the effort in that.
But can you imagine a conversation with, let's say, 15, 16-year-old you hearing you say that?
Yeah, no. I
What?
mean, I think no, I can't imagine it, right? Because it's like win or bust, right? But
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
um yeah, but I think
So cool.
because when you go through certain challenges and adversity and that, it kind of it shapes your perspective in ways, and I see myself more than what it is that I can do, more than what it is that I can achieve. And I went back to Pittsburgh last May and I did the half marathon there, and that was my first half marathon after my shoulder surgery and that. And so it was the first time I ran without my Apple Watch. And it's funny because it's like kind of paradoxical, right? But I ran without my watch, so I wasn't checking that, and I actually got my best time
Yeah,
by not checking my pace the whole time. And I think there was just something in that freedom to perform, and that's really what I've come into a lot. And so just giving myself the freedom to perform, to have fun, to play. And by doing that, I've actually seen my performance increase. Like I've been able to find better results in the way because I'm just allowing myself the freedom to play. And so much we just attach, we have this pressure we put on ourselves to like hit certain marks, certain goals and everything, which I think is great to have the goals. But what happens when you just show up freely? Maybe you might surprise yourself and do better than you ever imagine. So
absolutely. Such an important
yeah.
takeaway of the level of achievement that we can all make when we just get out of our own way a little bit
Yeah,
and
that's so good.
give it 100%.
That's so good.
Oh, Ashley, my gosh, I sit here smiling at your summary because that's the truth of the journey, right? The truth of the journey is, are we not always in the pursuit of the balance of happiness and healthy competition? And, if you take away the weight of measured performance, we actually will perform better because we're coming from a position that is joy led. We're back to enjoying throwing a ball through a hoop. We're back to enjoying being around our teammates. In this instance, you've picked up the very addictive sport of paddle, and that's why it's revolutionizing globally, revolutionizing the
Yeah.
sport for us.
No,
But
exactly, exactly.
right. But again, if that's a space that feels like you can be healthily competitive in it now, you're in a far more balanced baseline than ever before. I hope you enjoy every minute of that because you've walked the
Thank
walk
you.
to get to where you are. I'm so pumped for you. So excited for you.
Thank you. I
Now,
appreciate that, really.
Ashley, I and my co-host Laura would talk to you all day. I am at risk though of my cheeks burning from smiling as you're talking because I'm just so happy for your journey. I love the walk that you've walked. I love the way that you're willing to share with others. I love that you're not just showing up here going, well, it was peachy or I threw this out and picked that up. It's not quite like that. Every bit of it has had a little obstacle where you've gone, well, there's a little bit of me I need to learn a bit more about here. That is the life of someone who wants to dabble in sport. That is the life of sport creates setbacks. Whether you're watching it or playing it, there are setbacks in every part of the journey. I love what you've done with yours.
Thank you so much, really. I love
Excited.
being able to have these conversations and, just being able to share the journey and the learnings in that, and, um, there's so much to learn, like, sport connects us, like, we're chatting how many miles away. I mean, you're giving me hope in tomorrow, I'm, like, trying
You're
to
already
make a
here.
joke
Where are you?
because it's the It's already Monday for you. It's Sunday night over here. But it's true, right? Like sport has the power to connect us in these ways. And
Yeah,
I feel really grateful, really grateful to share these kind of spaces and have these conversations.
I love it. I love it. Ashley, I now have to change gears for us and throw you into a segment we call This or That, which is where we ask you a series of questions,
Wow.
rapid
I
fire,
love it. I love it.
and you get to choose your first instinctive response as your answer. Would you like to play now?
Please. I can't wait.
Let's do it. All right. So, Ashley, team sport or solo pursuits?
Team sport.
Training for performance or for feel?
Feel
Early mornings or late nights?
early mornings.
Podcast or book?
Podcast.
Routine or variety?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to ask
Both
questions.
and. I'm going both and on that one.
I'm not allowed to ask questions because I stretched these segments. So I'm going to move on. I'm moving on. City or coast?
City.
Plan everything or be okay to go with the flow?
Also both and on that one.
Pretty
I
similar.
suspected that might be a both.
US, Europe.
Europe.
Oof.
Oh.
Maybe both and on that one too.
Correction.
But you said instinct. I don't know. No, both and.
Quiet time or adrenaline driven busy?
Quiet.
Mentoring others or personal growth?
And.
All right. Last one.
This, that, and why not both is what this segment is turning into again.
Yeah, come on, exactly.
Last one.
So true. I love that, Laura.
Last one is being known for what you do or who you are.
Who you are, 100%.
Thanks for playing, Ashley. We did it. We did it together. Well done.
I love it. Thank you. That was so much fun.
Actually, I've got one more question for you. What are you excited about for what's next for you?
That's a great question. And I'm glad you asked. No, I think what I'm most excited about is things getting better. No, just that I'm really excited for I love learning, right? And I think that especially, when you're going through seasons has been a big kind of, we talked about this, right? Like the seasons are so life-giving in different ways, right? And I find myself, going through different seasons in life. And I think I'm excited for the next season because I know it will look different than this one. Yeah, I'm excited for the future. I hold this belief in my heart, and that is that the best is always yet to come. And I think, it's a reminder for me that, it's keep going, right? There's more to explore. There's more to discover and to learn about yourself and about others, and that's the journey. And so it keeps me connected to hope and to just the possibilities that are ahead.
Yeah, we have no doubt that wherever you're heading is going to be fulfilling and great. As Frances mentioned, you have had a lot of chapters, but you've also done a lot of growth and learning that is just incredible to listen to, and a privilege to share your story and be part of a little bit of your journey in this current chapter. Your story, it is a great reminder that there isn't just one way for a journey in sport to unfold. And for our listeners, if you've enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to follow along. Thanks for joining, and we hope to see you next week. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you both. Really, this has been awesome, and really, really appreciate what you're doing here, and your impact goes far beyond. So thank you.
Thanks, Ashley.